Hello, this is my presentation on dance and movement therapy. Dance and movement therapy has a long history. If you look at dancing and movement, dancing began in ancient times, and people would do it for fun, for relief, for socializing, and for rituals. Um, as far as it becoming a therapy, in 1940s, it started as a form of therapy. Um, it officially started as a form of therapy. And then in 1966, the American Dance Therapy Association was founded, and they they issue certification for people who want to become a therapist in this field. In 1970s, different universities started offering master's degrees in dance therapy. Um, So the idea is that you can change the body to change the mind, and dance can be used to get into a trance or to heighten empathy and stimulate creativity of insights. The idea with dance and movement therapy is that motion and emotion equal connection. So you connect emotion to the motion, and that connection makes you present in the body, and um, and you are able to uh, communicate in ways, in nonverbal ways, that you might not be able to otherwise in verbal ways. Movement is our first form of communication, even before we speak, our nonverbal communication. Taking control of emotions and owning what's going on inside the body and expressing our innermost thoughts, feelings, and personality. That's what happens during dance and movement. Movement is nonverbal communication. Physical gestures are also used during worship and spiritual practices. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that afterwards. Um, in this image is a historical depiction of ghost dancers at Wounded Knee before the Wounded Knee massacre. Here's a quote by Nietzsche: "And those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music." Another quote by a person unknown is, "If you hit a wall, climb over it, crawl under it, or dance on top of it." And one more quote: "Oppression leads to depression," since we're talking about emotions. There are many benefits to dance and movement therapy. It is used to improve posture, body strength, mood, memory. It can improve your attention, brain function, socialization, as dance is often done in partnership or in a group, and sometimes in a community. Um, Dance will also help to improve emotional expression and creativity, and it helps us to be in the moment. Dance and movement therapy also lowers stress and depression and loneliness. It also lowers the risk of dementia and Alzheimer's. Dance therapy can be helpful for social isolation, illness, and to improve quality of life, especially for the elderly and the chronically ill. Movement can heal because it goes in these three stages. So dance and movement, when people do this therapy, they go through 3 steps. In the first step, they feel vulnerable. And then in the next stage, they feel empowered. And then after that, they are transformed and they are healed. So dance and movement therapy is beyond your usual talking psychotherapy. Dance and movement are used to connect and heal the body, mind, and soul. This therapy improves physical, mental, and emotional health. This is part of the creative arts therapies. DMT focuses on relationship between movement and emotion. A holistic approach is used, which means mind, body, and spirit are interconnected and they affect each other. The mind affects the body affects the spirit affects the mind and body, and so on. In practice, what happens? Body movement is used for assessment and intervention. This therapy is used with all populations, and it's used on an individual basis, one-on-one, or with couples, or in groups. Dance and movement therapy is defined officially as the psychotherapeutics use of movement to further the emotional, cognitive, physical, and social integration of the individual. The application and philosophy of this therapy is similar to yoga and expressive arts therapy. It's practiced in nursing homes, daycare centers, disease prevention, and health promotion programs. It's used in mental health rehabilitation. In rehabilitation, in medical, educational, and forensic settings. This therapy is effective for individuals with developmental, medical, social, physical, and psychological impairments. And this is, I wanted to mention this part of the field, which is sacred dance. So this is what connects the past with the present. Dancing has been used in religious ceremonies and rituals since ancient times. We can imagine that people were dancing around a fire after a meal to thank the gods and to celebrate. Movement shows that a life force is flowing through the body. When that spirit, soul, or chi energy is gone, the body dies. So movement means that there is presence of life in the body. Spirituality can mean something as simple as a practice which brings meaning and purpose in life. Different people have different definitions of spirituality, and there's a simple one. Dance is a form of movement which affects the physical, emotional, and spiritual level. Dance and music therapy is modern reconstruction of several transformative aspects of dance which were used by tribal communities long ago. In this modern form, the focus of this therapy is to integrate the psyche and the soma and to explore a person's intersubjective and interpersonal worlds. The body in movement has been used to communicate with nature and to the spirit world. The dance of the body is a celebration of the spirit. Dance can be the fun part of a religious or spiritual practice. So the following are different groups of people or in religious or spiritual practices where sacred dance is used. among native people all around the world. Spiritual ceremonies are done since the beginning of time. In Christianity, an example is the liturgical or worship dance. In Judaism, Hasidic Jews use music and dance to celebrate the joys of being Jewish. In Hinduism, there is Bharatanatyam and Kathak. In Islam, there are the whirling dervishes and these guys of the Sufi Muslims. They're called Malang or dervish. This is an illustration of different, you could say, different extremes going from immobile to mobile, from stop to move, from rest to flow, from stuck to change, to isolation, to outreach, and from narrow to expand, from restricted to liberated, from separate to connected, from quitting to being active, from shut down to being in motion, on hold versus contemplating, and being here. From here, on one extreme we are here, on the other extreme we are everywhere, similar to chaos versus being like concentrated in this moment, separate, connected, what else, change, stop, and continue or shut down, and so on. So dance can help us, dance and movement can help us to go from here to here, to flow from here to there. And also dance and movement is used in political movements, in political action. Over here we have what are called a group who are called the Black Lives Matters ballerinas. They're teenagers, and they demonstrated at the Robert E. Lee statue in Virginia. Over here we have people protesting against racism in Portland. And here, this is in Chile. They are protesting against the killing of women over there. This is Zimbabwe. They're protesting against disappearances, and especially a journalist who was disappeared. And here, there's some hijabi girls protesting against trolling. In the end, there is some reflections. So part one of the reflection is, this idea of going from apathy or inertia to movement. Excuse me. Movement starts even before birth, when a baby is in the womb. Similarly, dancing has been around since the beginning of time. For thousands of years, people enjoyed dance and movement to express their feelings, to do rituals, and to bow down to the Creator. Perhaps the Industrial Revolution, the cultural homogenization, and expectations of conformity through rules and regulations made people too stiff. It is possible that separation of church and state encourage the compartmentalization of body and soul? Is it possible? The factory worker and the corporate employee are expected to leave their emotions at the door and act somewhat like machines or products or robots. We are told to keep our personal lives separated from our professional lives. So there is this segregation in various parts of our lives. Oppression leads to depression. So the previous things I just mentioned, we could say that that's part of our oppression. And depression is anger turned inward or lack of expression. So moving our bodies and dancing can be an expression of freedom and taking control of our lives. As in my last slide, which is number 11, which showed some protests, including the Black Lives Matters ballerinas. Since the body is a political entity being attacked by cops and soldiers while being judged by society based on looks, color, beards, clothes, hijabs, tattoos, plastic surgeries, brand name accessories, etc., not to mention the right to choose. That means that the body is a political entity. To be in control of the body, including the movement of the body, is also political. It makes sense to me that pain in the body will create pain in the mind and in the thoughts. Going the other way, energy flow or feelings being stuck, energy flow being hampered, or feelings being stuck will take the shape of illness in the body. Thus, dance and movement therapy can be effective in connecting mind and body to heal both. So the reflections are, personal observations. Reflection number 2 is, in stagnation, the engine is stalled, stopped, not in motion. Is the body stuck? Take rest to the extreme and it's death. Then an extreme of moving is chaos and madness. We can go from stagnation to movement, or from being pulled in many directions to getting still in meditation. And yet nature is in movement. Time is in motion. Time does not stand still. From the electrons on the molecular level to the planets on the cosmic scale, everything is in motion. Moving the body connects to that natural phenomena, aligning ourselves with our nature inside and outside. Then this can become a spiritual activity. It is also a way to open the channels of nonverbal communication between us and our bodies, and engaging with what's happening inside and interacting with the relationship with who's inside and who's outside. Nature is in a flow of rhythms and cycles. The body also has a flow of the breath and beats of the heart. In dance and movement, we listen to the rhythms of music, which help us get into a natural flow. The 7 notes of music connect our 7 organs to 7 continents and to 7 seas and 7 skies. And we move in 7 directions: north, south, east, west, up, down, and inward, dancing in meditation. And here's some videos and websites as resources and some of the references. And that's my presentation.